Good morning, everybody. Today I have a very special video. This video was inspired by Casey over at A Basket Casey Reads, and I was so excited to see her video that I had to do one of my own. And that is my top 15 favorite animated movies. I am an 80s and 90s Disney child. I grew up in the golden era of Disney and many other animated films as well. And I wanted to share my top 15 with you guys. When I saw Casey's, I think she did her top 11. When I saw Casey's, like every pick she had, I was gushing over, I was agreeing with. I was like, oh, I totally agree. That is such a good movie. I was just so excited to see Casey's picks and realize how much we actually had in common. So I will, of course, link her channel and video in the description below, and maybe put a card up here somewhere directly to that video. But I wanted to give you guys my own top 15 picks. It was really hard to pick only top 15, because when I say I'm a Disney child, I love my Disney movies. I think I own almost all of them, aside from a few that I missed the first time they were out of the vault, or any new releases, or just ones in general that I weren't interested in that didn't even look appealing. But I wanted to be fair and not just pick Disney movies, so I threw in some DreamWorks and some other movies in as well. Now these aren't solidly rated favorite to least favorite, but I tried to keep my most favorite toward the top. I'm not going to go into the synopsis either, so I will link some IMDb links down below if I have time, or you can just IMDb them yourself. So without further ado, here they are. At number 15, Disney's WreckIt Ralph. I loved WreckIt Ralph, and WreckIt Ralph was actually the first 3D movie I went and saw. I was a little wary of 3D movies just because I get headaches fairly easily. So I went and saw WreckIt Ralph, hoping that I wouldn't get a headache, and I didn't. And I ended up absolutely loving it, and the characters were so adorable. It has one of my favorite Owl City songs of all time from the credits. I love how it's so much about friendship, about finding out who you are, and about putting others before you. And as many people find Vanellope von Schweetz super annoying, I think she is super adorable, and I loved her. She and Ralph just have this adorable friendship going on. It is one of my all-time favorite movies. I don't watch Glee, but I really enjoy Jamie Lynch's voice as Sergeant Calhoun. It fit the character so well, and it was just all around just adorable movie. At number 14, I have How to Train Your Dragon. The music and the score is amazing. The cinematography is gorgeous. The animation is adorable, and the voice acting is on point. I loved Gerard Butler's voice. I loved all the other characters, and I can't remember who they all are at the moment, but they are just absolutely great voice acting. I think what I loved most about this one is the voice acting, because it just made those characters so much more endearing. And also Toothless. If I could have a fantasy pet, I would want Toothless. That little thing has so much attitude, and I absolutely love him. And he's also like super fearless, so if I could have any dream fantasy pet, it would be Toothless. At number 13, I have Frozen. Yes, Frozen is this far on the list because I do agree that there are many other movies out there that are actually better than Frozen, and I have gotten dirty looks for that, but I don't care. Frozen was a really good movie. However, I find a lot of more storyline-wise, some other movies are better. But for Frozen, I loved the animation. I mean, that scene where she's building the castle is just incredible work of animation. So I just really appreciated all the work that went into animating this movie. And I know everybody is probably sick of it at this point, but I still love Let It Go. There is something about that song that just makes me feel like I can take on the world. It is my song, my jam, and it is sometimes what I need to encourage myself to get out of a little bit of a slump in my life, and I just love Let It Go. Coming in at number 12, I have Lilo and Stitch. One of the main reasons I loved Lilo and Stitch is because of the character Nani. I absolutely love the voice actress that plays her. I don't remember her name, but I loved her so much, and I also love Nani's character in general. She never wants Lilo to feel any blame, so she doesn't blame her for losing her job. She spends the entire rest of the movie trying to find a job to provide for Lilo. Instead of telling Lilo that she's crazy for wanting to feed Pudge the fish on sandwich day, she recommends an alternative sandwich for Pudge the fish. She doesn't say, no, Lilo, don't feed the fish. That's crazy. She encourages Lilo's quirkiness. It allows Lilo to cope. All of Lilo's mundane photos of random objects developed for her without question. So Nani is like the ultimate big sister character. Her character is one of my favorite Disney characters just because of her quality, her personality, her integrity was just all perfect. Also, Stitch. I mean, come on. A Disney character with an attitude and who's also so cute and fluffy. Like, just Stitch and Lilo were absolutely adorable characters. Number 11 is Disney's Big Hero 6. I absolutely loved Big Hero 6. It was such a bright, colorful movie. It had some excellent characters, and I don't normally cry in Disney movies, but I did tear up quite a bit watching this in theaters, and I think the woman down the row from me was actually weeping openly. So there was a lot of heart to this movie. Again, it's another excellent sibling relationship that I absolutely love. And of course, Baymax is so stinking cute. I absolutely loved Baymax. And again, Disney is like on par finally with their animation game again, and their animated movies are just starting to kick it up a notch. So Disney is slowly coming back into another golden era, I believe personally, and Big Hero 6 to me is proof of that. Another reason though I thoroughly enjoyed Big Hero 6 is because of Fred. I absolutely loved Fred. He is just the epitome of every comic geek in the world who just wants to become a superhero. And he is just this random character. Everybody else is like super brilliant and super smart and they just kind of write Fred off. But he ends up becoming that like billionaire kid who has nothing better to do. So he has like that great background of a superhero just as much as any of them do. So there's like the geniuses and then the billionaire kid who becomes a superhero, so it still worked out pretty well. But I absolutely loved Fred, and Stan Lee's cameo in it was just probably one of my favorite cameos. Coming in at number 10, I have The Prince of Egypt. The Prince of Egypt, for me, as a child, was one of those epics. It was an absolutely stunningly beautiful movie. Everything about it was just gorgeous. The animation, the music, I still get goosebumps every time I hear any of that music. The voice acting, a lot of these people were like A-lister voice actors, but they did such a performance that you're not even realizing who they are in this performance. It's not Sandra Bullock playing a character in a movie. You forgot half the time Sandra Bullock is in this movie. Val Kilmer's in this movie. Patrick Stewart's in this movie. I believe Dean Martin and Martin Short are in this movie. And you just forget that these people are in there because they have done such an excellent job. You're not looking at, oh, it's them in a movie. The movie's not sold because of them. You're actually seeing their real talent. And going back to the music, some of these songs are still my favorite animated music ever. What takes us up a notch is if you listen to Deliver Us and There Can Be Miracles in Hebrew. I will leave links below to what I found here on YouTube, but listening to them in Hebrew is just breathtaking and absolutely gorgeous. So some of my favorite music. You guys really need to check it out. Coming in at number 9, I have Anastasia. Anastasia is what kicked me off in my obsession about the history of Anastasia and the Romanov family and anything to do with Russia at that time period. I absolutely loved this movie. I just loved how you look through the animation of Anastasia, how there was just some really awesomely breathtaking scenes, and the way they did some of the artwork throughout Anastasia was just absolutely incredible. And the voice acting again was absolutely beautiful. Kelsey Grammer, Meg Ryan, John Cusack, again, these people were doing such a brilliant job. You didn't even recognize, you didn't even put faces to the voices because they became their characters so well. And again, of course, music is absolutely perfect. I loved the song Once Upon a December. It was my favorite song of the whole movie. It was so good. At number 9, I have Thumbelina. Both Thumbelina and Anastasia were done by a director called Don Bluth. A lot of Don Bluth's movies traumatized me as a kid because some of those villains were scary. However, both Thumbelina and Anastasia did not traumatize me because they had no absolutely freaky villains. But Thumbelina was one of my favorite movies as a kid. It was super cute. It was adorable. I loved it. It was brightly colored. And I didn't know this as a child, but I figured it out as an adult. Thumbelina is voiced by one of my all-time need-to-meet voice actresses, Jodie Benson. Because Jodie Benson does the voice of Ariel and Thumbelina, and they were two of my all-time favorite movies growing up as a kid. The storyline for me wasn't absolutely perfect for an animated movie, but the characters were all absolutely adorable, little jitterbugs, and Thumbelina herself, and I just loved it. It had some really beautiful animation in it as well, and the music, the entire score and songs were all done by Barry Manilow, who I'm not a huge fan of otherwise, but the Thumbelina soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks as a kid. I'm going to be saying one of my favorites a lot in this video because I think everything is one of my favorites on this list. I had two absolute favorite songs in Thumbelina, and the one was, I think it's called Love Can You Hear Me, and it's the one Thumbelina sings herself, and I thought was just so beautiful. And of course, Jodie Benson's voice doing any sort of singing is absolutely gorgeous. And of course, I loved Let Me Be Your Wings. It was just one of my favorite songs as a kid. Sometimes I would just watch the movie and just fast forward and just watch that one scene with Let Me Be Your Wings over and over again, and I loved that movie. Coming in at number 7, I have Disney's Mulan. So last year at the Comic-Con that I go to, there was Ming Young Wen was there as a guest, and she is the voice of Mulan, as well as Agent May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I so badly wanted to go meet her, but unfortunately she wasn't signing any merchandise, and I try to get my Disney movies signed when I can by Disney voice actors, but unfortunately I couldn't this time. So I didn't get a chance to go meet her. This was one of those movies I believe was still part of Disney's golden era. The animation is gorgeous, the soundtrack is amazing, the voice acting is so good. Even if it is Donny Osmond doing the singing voice of Shang, I will get over it because I did absolutely love Shang's singing voice until I realized who it was, and I'm not going to let that ruin it for me. I'm not an Osmond fan, sorry. And even if you're part of that Elsa is the first Disney princess to not need a man debate, may I present Mulan just saved all of China, and there was like no romance or connection until like the very end of the movie, so she did all of that without needing Shang, and even at the end she didn't really need Shang, they just met and ended up having a connection. So Elsa was not the first, people. Coming in at number 6, Tangled. I am one of those people who thought Tangled was better than Frozen. I really liked the storyline much better in Tangled. I loved the character development better in Tangled, and the overall, just the music and how everything was spread out a bit more in Tangled. I loved that a lot better as well, and the animation was gorgeous. I actually boycotted Tangled for the longest time because I was just so done with all of those on par Disney movies and the sequels, and just so finished with what Disney was doing. And then my friends were like, no, you really need to watch Tangled. So I watched it with them, and I believe personally that Tangled was that kickstart back into another golden era of Disney, because then after Tangled we had WreckIt Ralph, we had Frozen, we had Big Hero 6, so we're starting to get again back into this golden era of Disney because of Tangled. The voice acting was incredible. I'm normally not a fan of Mandy Moore, but she did such a good job as Rapunzel. And the score and music was done by one of my favorite Disney legends, Alan Menken. I loved I See the Light. It is one of my favorite Disney love songs. Tangled also has two of my all-time favorite animal sidekicks, and that is Pascal and Maximus. And I actually love the fact that they don't talk, because that means everything else about them has to convey how they feel and what they mean. And Pascal is a little guy with so much attitude, and he is so cute. He's like one of my favorite Disney animal sidekicks. I absolutely love him. And of course Maximus, a horse with an attitude. He's got more attitude than Prince Philip's horse, and I absolutely loved him. At number 5, we have Disney Pixar's Brave. When I saw the trailer for Brave, I thought, man, this is going to be so good. And then when I went and saw Brave in theaters, and at the end of Brave, my first thought was I was waiting for them to make this movie my entire life. I love medieval historical fiction, stories, romances. Emma Thompson. Can we just, Emma Thompson is one of my favorite actresses, and her voice as Queen Eleanor, she was Queen Eleanor. It was absolutely perfection. I loved her character. And Merida, again, came before Elsa, and she didn't end up with a man either. That would be Princess number 2 who didn't need a man before Elsa on this list. Merida's character was absolute perfection. Absolutely loved her, wanted to be her, wanted to have her life. It was amazing. I mean, aside from turning my mother into a bear thing, I wanted Merida's life. Loved it. And Pixar, again, with their animation was stunning. This is probably my favorite animation in a movie, aside from the ballroom scene from Beauty and the Beast. This was animation perfection. The scenery, just everything about it was just gorgeous. The sweeping landscapes, it was absolutely beautiful. So I give Pixar kudos on their gorgeous animation. The music was done by Patrick Doyle, and I found lately that any soundtrack I've been absolutely loving has been done by Patrick Doyle. Patrick Doyle is becoming one of my favorite composers right now. Coming in at number 4, I have Rise of the Guardians. Rise of the Guardians surprised me. I was working at a movie store at the time, and we had it playing on the screen when it came out, and I kept looking up and watching it, and I thought, okay, I need to get this movie. So I bought it that day that it came out, and loved it. And the voice acting was incredible. To name a few, you have Chris Pine, Jude Law, Hugh Jackman. And again, for me, when you put like A-list actors into movies, people want to go see it because their names are attached to it. And for me, Rise of the Guardians wasn't about that. There was actually, you wanted to go see it for the characters that they portrayed and acted, and it was perfect. Their voicing, I couldn't have picked anybody better. The dude, Pitch Black, Jude Law did an excellent job. And Chris Pine was amazing Jack Frost. I mean, can we say animated character crush? He was just an awesome character to begin with. What I loved most about Rise of the Guardians is that the wonder, the magic, and the imagination became so important, and it becomes a part of each of us. This movie was just everything my imagination could concoct, and I loved it. And now it's time for the big 3. These are my all-time favorite Disney movies. The 3 of these are not in any particular order because I could not choose. But coming in at number 3 is Aladdin. I don't actually own Aladdin yet because I missed it the first time it was out of the vault, but it is coming out of the vault this October, and I'm super excited. This was the golden era of Disney animation. It was absolutely beautiful, stunning animation for all 3 of these movies. The music is just killer. I mean, A Whole New World was like my favorite song as a kid. I loved it so much. Everything about this movie was fun, action-packed, magical, beautiful, loved it. And of course, in respect to the late Robin Williams, has one of my all-time favorite Disney characters was the Genie. The Genie was everybody's best friend. He was an amazing character. He was super funny, and just everything about him was perfect. He is my favorite Disney character. I would say he's up there. He is really great, and Robin Williams, only he could ever do the Genie. Aladdin now will always have that special place. And number 2 is Beauty and the Beast. Again, another golden Disney era movie. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I would watch that ballroom scene a lot, and everybody on this channel could probably relate to the library scene. That is my favorite scene in the entire movie, was when the Beast showed Belle the library, and I thought, I need this library. That library in particular is the one I need. And the music, you can't get any better than Howard Ashman and Alan Menken team up. They were just incredible, incredibly talented guys to come up with this beautiful score. And I had the privilege of going to see Beauty and the Beast Broadway show. It was on tour through Canada, and it came to a city near me, and it was everything I wanted and more. I was bawling through Be Our Guest. I cried through Human Again, and I definitely cried through Tale as Old as Time, because you just wanted to see those on stage. And it was absolute Broadway perfection. And coming in at number 1 is my all-time favorite animated movie, and that is Disney's The Little Mermaid. I chose The Little Mermaid as my favorite because it was a tough pick between at least the top 5 of what my favorite was. And the reason The Little Mermaid was picked was because I drove my mother nuts with this movie. It came out when I was about 5 years old, 3? I was 3 years old when this movie came out, and apparently that is all I wanted to watch. Every 5 minutes it was put Mermaid on, put Mermaid on, put Mermaid on. And so we would watch The Mermaid, and it's the one Disney movie my mom knows very well. Like I mentioned before, Jodie Benson is one of these voice actresses that I want to meet above anybody else. I loved Little Mermaid. The music is some of my favorite. Again, it's an Alan Menken, Howard Ashman team up. It was incredible. Part of Your World is my song. That was my song through all of my childhood. It was an absolutely incredible movie and gorgeously done. So The Little Mermaid is, of course, always going to be my #1 animated movie. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video wasn't too super long. Again, this video is dedicated to the lovely Casey over at A Basket Casey Reads, who inspired this video. She also inspired a new installment I'm going to be doing on this channel. I am mainly a book nerd, but I am also a movie fanatic, and so I want to do kind of a once a month movie moment where I will list like the top whatever movies or TV shows based on the theme that I pick. So look forward to that, and I hope you guys enjoy that. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.